Hey everyone! It's finally happened. One of the big milestones for the channel. The 10,000 subscriber one. Wow. Just wow. When I first started making content, I had no idea how things would go, and looking back at it now, I can't believe how far the channel's come. Feels like it's been so much longer than a year, but it also really doesn't feel like it's been a year, if that makes any sense. I know it's a little bit hokey, but I really couldn't have done it without you guys. And I'm really grateful for all the comments and support along the way. It's been a wild ride so far, and I hope to keep doing this, so I hope you'll stick around. As I said before, I'm going to be answering some Q&A questions today, so let's not waste any more time, shall we? Where did you learn graphic design? I got my graphic design training and degree from Iowa State University. It was a good program, and I fell in love with doing motion graphics in the years I spent there. I had no idea this is what I'd be doing years later, you know, like a YouTube channel and stuff, but you know, here we are. Life takes a lot of funny twists and turns, doesn't it? If you could add one thing in the next DRG update, what would it be? Content-wise, I'd like to see some more overclocks for older weapons after we get a round of secondaries. Personally, I want like 5 more build loadout slots in the weapons terminal with some more icons to choose from them, but like, you know, I'd use like 20 if they gave them to me. What has been the most difficult / stressful part of getting where you are now, and how did you overcome it? If I'm honest, it's been tough to get myself organized and on a consistent schedule. I've never done so much personal work at once, so this last year or so has been me trying different things to balance productivity, money, and breaks. Oh, and you know, like, just life stuff. You never realize how much you rely on an externally imposed structure to your life until you shed that and still need to get things done. It's very easy to slack off too much or overwork yourself when that balance is off, but I'm definitely learning a lot as I continue content creation as a consistent thing. My solution has been to section out my time to switch tasks that I'm juggling often enough that I don't get burnt out on one thing. Having bespoke days for different aspects of content, be it YouTube, Twitch, or otherwise. Oh, and having days set aside specifically to not worry about anything helps a lot too. Crashing from overdoing things can really hurt your output a lot. Even more so than bad scheduling can. What's your favorite pop culture reference in DRG among the cosmetic Easter eggs? I'm between the Outback Hunter's flavor text, "That's not a knife," and the Frizzly handlebars. For some reason, you have an urge to dream up maniac machines and colorful contraptions. Both are good. Both are good. With the Scouts 3rd secondary already having a preview, what do you want to see in other classes if they weren't already revealed? Also, what do you want to see from Season 2 and 3? At the time of answering this, we actually had the Gunner's secondary, the Arms Score Coil Gun, Arms Score Coil Gun. So I'll give you my ideas for the Driller and Engineer before we see those in the future. For Engie, I think some type of electrical arc tool would be great. Something that could like bounce between enemies that have already been electrified or drop a field in the air that shocks nearby electrified bugs. For the Driller, I think a handheld boring tool would be fun. No, not like a boring tool, you know, like it could launch a projectile that travels along surfaces until it comes into contact with targets and explodes. I don't know, I think it fits him. Also, I would love for Season 2 to focus on the native Hoxie's threat. Maybe more to do with like a Mactera or Glyphid hive of some sort. That would be really cool. Season 3 would be a fun dive back into the rival tech to see what they're up to now that they have had contact with the dwarves of DRG. If you didn't notice before, the rival tech seems to be geared more towards research and survey taking rather than bulk mining and combat, so I wonder what they'll be like when they know we're here to stop them. What do you think the next season's theme should be, and what should be in it? I'll continue my last answer a little bit. I think the new theme of a worsening wildlife threat could be found in missions similar to the way the data deposits and prospectors are currently. Maybe we'll have to collect samples from something for research, like a new version of the data cubes, you know? I'd also like to see it work a little differently than the current defense objective we have, like with a special swarm or a unique enemy that runs away from you like a Huli Hoarder or something. It'd be cool to catch Glyphid worker drones building huge nests or digging tunnels like they're preparing for something big. What's your favorite and least favorite mission type? On-site refinery and egg hunt. Secondary objective? Fester fleas and gunk seeds. Mutation? Rich atmosphere, volatile guts. Warning? Low O2, Swarmageddon. Biome? Hollow bow and radioactive exclusion zone. I don't know, it's green. Ugh. Favorite and least favorite enemy? Twin dreadnoughts and Nadocyte breeders. Favorite and least favorite class and weapons? Engineer and Scout. Well, like by a very small margin. I love Scout. Currently, Corrosive Sludge Pump and the GK2. When will you do Hazard 7 times 10 swarm size? Is that a challenge? What got you into Deep Rock Galactic? I was coming off of a few years of playing Overwatch and wanted something to go back to that wasn't going to stress me the hell out the whole time I was playing. I remembered that I bought DRG on a sale a while before I actually installed it, and gave it a try since the reviews said it was similar to TF2, Destiny, and Left 4 Dead 2, all the games that I loved, and I haven't turned back since. Slasher Steve or Guard Steve? Guard Steve. Slashers do a lot of damage, but Steve is primarily a little tank to draw aggro for you, and guards last the longest for that purpose. Do you believe that Ghost Ship games will not only hold to their current level of quality for the game, but also improve it? I'm raising this question due to a lot of poor games that AAA companies release these days. With Ghost Ship Games' current track record, I have a lot of faith in them to keep quality updates for Deep Rock coming for a few years to come at least. They're some of the best devs I've seen in recent years when it comes to listening to their player base and really tailoring a game meant for fun first and foremost. They strike me as people who really care about their work and want to see this game have a long life as one of the best co-op horde shooters out there. And they're doing a fantastic job so far. This is coming from someone who's been through multiple life cycles of games that were handled in the subpar way, to say the least. Looking at you, Overwatch. What is your opinion on particularly old overclocks and the lack of overclocks for some weapons in general? I feel that we are due for some added OCs and reworked old ones in the future. Probably after the devs have gotten the new weapons in and have balanced them to their liking. Some weapons, in my opinion, like the GK2, suffer not from a lack of usefulness or power, but from simply being a bit boring compared to the more interesting stuff we're getting now. You could argue that the GK2 does suffer in combat too, but I can still finish missions with it, so, you know, it's not that bad. It's just, you know, There's something to be said for them filling the niche for more standard firearms to act as an alternative to the more wacky guns we are getting now. But if Ghost Ship Games adds more overclocks, I'd like to see older weapons get some really odd mechanics to breathe new life into them. Or at very least, make the amount of clean, balanced, and unstable overclocks the same for every weapon. That way we always have a variety of choices. What kind of games do you play besides DRG? I actually play a lot of stuff. My taste tends to be a bit eclectic these days, especially since I started playing games on stream, which has me trying all sorts of stuff outside my usual. The ones I've played the most of in recent years, though, have been Team Fortress 2, Left 4 Dead 2, Overwatch, RimWorld, Faster Than Light, Apex Legends, Beat Saber, Guild Wars 2, Destiny, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, Sea of Thieves, Subnautica, the Half-Life series, and Halo.
Editing Siirvend here. I forgot to add Elden Ring and the entire Dark Souls series, plus Bloodborne. They're some of my favorite games ever, so, you know, I don't know how I forgot that, but, you know.
And that's just naming the most influential games for me, really. I've played lots more. Like I said, I hop around a lot. Also, what class do you play the most? Going off my stats, I play Engineer the most, but only by one mission ahead of Scout. I like to keep them all around the same amount of playtime, so I have an even amount of experience. So there's rarely more than like a 10 mission difference between them. Also, Rockin' Stone. Rockin' Stone! Just one question. Where is Carl? Well, don't tell anyone, but I overheard some guys in the science team discussing his possible whereabouts, and the leading theory is that—
Editing Siirvend here. I had to cut that part out. I got in trouble. All I can really say is that he's alive still, because he hasn't showed up in the medbay yet. That's how that works, right?
What's one unused idea in your videos that you like the most? It's unused at the time of this video, but I really want to do a deep dive into the biology of the Glyphid Swarm and possibly the other creatures on Hoxie's 4. I think invertebrates are cool, and I actually owned a pet spider at one point, so I ended up learning a lot about them, and it would be really cool to speculate on how Glyphids work from that perspective. I'm not sure exactly the angle I want to approach it from, but it'd probably be similar to the Beneath the Crust biome video I did. Maybe I could tie it in with some dynamics on how swarms behave and operate? Who knows? What's your ideal burger? Guacamole with a fried egg and a bit of garlic lemon aioli with a charred patty and some caramelized onions. I'll be right back. Steve or Carl? Why choose? We'll bring them both back someday.
Also, what about Betsy?
I'm still here.
Favorite beer? In game, Flintlock's Delight. In real life, Kilkenny's Irish Cream Ale. Delicious. What are some overclocks or upgrades and equipment you think should be reworked entirely for one reason or another? I think the M1000 deserves another pass as far as balancing the focus shots. The rifle looks and feels like a precision weapon, but is more often than not used more like a semi-automatic carbine instead. I don't know if this is more or less the vision the devs had in mind for it, but I do like the focus shots, and since the rebalance, they are more for utility than anything. It doesn't need a complete overhaul, but there should be ways to build it into being the hipster DPS machine it is now, as well as something that utilizes supercooling chamber tactics to greater effect. Speaking of which, I think supercooling chamber can be part of that change in some way. Maybe a new overclock like it, I don't know. What are some you think have a use, despite the common opinion being that they don't? I'll be talking about it in length pretty soon, but I think the Lock 1 has a lot of untapped potential once you figure out its strange learning curve. What do people think of the Lock 1? I could say see the last answer, but I've spent a significant amount of time with the Lock, and I feel like I've got myself into a groove with it that feels natural and isn't constantly out of ammo. I'll have the Lock 1 build video do the heavy lifting as far as explaining my thoughts on it, which should be relatively soon, I hope. Do you have a perks tier list, in which you break them down according to passive and active, and also solo and team? I hesitate to do tier lists for things since I see equipment and perks in a more of what's useful in this particular situation than what's best overall. There are definitely standouts in both a positive and negative sense, but that's in the context of a generalized situation, because that would fall within the purview of your conundrums of philosophy. In other words, I don't like to shut out certain perks due to them not being the best in every scenario. I've been showing which ones I suggest and in what situations in the mission prep videos so far, and I plan to do more of that in the future. But if there's interest in a straightforward tier list type video, I wouldn't mind doing that, honestly. It might just be a bit wordy if I do. Just give me a heads up in the comments if you want me to do that. I will probably be covering each perk individually too, as highlight videos. And I've already recorded some as of yet unused audio doing just that. I've actually already posted it early on my Patreon, if I can do a shameless self-plug there. What do you think of neurotoxin payload? I recently tried it for myself and I don't really understand the hate it gets, especially with the tier 5 fear. People don't like neurotoxin payload? That's strange, because it's honestly one of the best overclocks for the Thunderhead, hands down, especially since the balance changes. And also paired with fear, like you mentioned. If anyone tells you it's bad, I'd advise you not take them too seriously. What was the first overclock you got, and how did you feel about it? My first overclock was explosive reload for the Sabata. I had no idea how radically overclocks could change the gameplay for any particular weapon at the time. I was really happy to have such a powerful change for that pistol so early on. Come to think of it, that very well might be why I ended up liking the Sabata so much as I continued to play, since it got me to use it quite a bit even after unlocking the EPC. It still serves me well to this day. Do you have any inspirations for your editing style? Inspirations? Can't say I was trying to emulate anyone in particular when I set off, but I have noticed people mentioning it to me in the comments that my style seems very influenced by Ahoy and his amazing weapons and video games series. I didn't even realize it for a while, but I definitely love using animated silhouette vectors like he does. If you'll let me dig a little deeper, that style does have roots in the work of Saul Bass. He was a graphic designer during the 1950s through the 1990s who did iconic title sequences for animations and posters for movies like Vertigo, The Man with the Golden Arm, The Shining, and Anatomy of a Murder. Much of my, and I suspect Ahoy's style, comes from designers like Saul. I'm nowhere near as good as him, but I would like to think I pull some from that. How many pairs of sunglasses do you actually have? If we're counting the pair I keep in my car, 21.
Editing Siirvend here again. We're actually down one pair. Got run over by a chair wheel. I'm not joking. If anyone has an extra pair of communist shades they want to send me, just send them to my dorm on the space rig.
What's your favorite horror movie or horror game? Or the scariest in your opinion? To be honest, I don't watch many horror movies. It's not my first choice anyway. I have good memories of watching The Thing with some friends in high school though, so I'll probably pick that one. As for my favorite horror game, it's gotta be Dead Space. I spent a ton of time playing through that multiple times on different difficulties when it released. Close runner-up would be Resident Evil 4, one I played much later, that I should have played a lot sooner, seeing as it was the inspiration of many games I've enjoyed over the years. Scariest, though? Definitely gotta be Subnautica, the most unintentionally terrifying game I've ever played. And I don't even have thalassophobia, I think. When will you stop answering questions? Now. Once again, thank you so much for the support thus far. These Q&As are fun to do, so it's likely I'll do another in the future. If you had anything you wish you could have asked, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll be there. Quick shout out to my patrons: Infraray, I Like Turtles, The Flannel Man, Lee Trott, Ben, and Axis Kronos. Thanks for the support, guys. And until next time, rock!